Hello and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Video Mastermind, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry, technology, and services to help you create more videos to use in your mortgage business. So we are live. Welcome to our next weekly series of our Mortgage Video Mastermind. My name is Ginger Bell. We've got Scott Schang and Frank Gray. Jason's not joining us today. He's busy transitioning, and Carl had surgery yesterday. Frank said he is doing very well, so we're excited about that. And I have a special guest with me today, Mr. George Chevalier with Homestar. And we're kind of in the middle of doing a whole bunch of planning. We've been spending the day doing content planning, video planning, all kinds of things with a couple of different organizations here. So we broke away for a minute, but I wanted George to share what he is doing for a little project that he asked me to help him with. And so you should be able to see our screen. So George, I'll let you kind of frame up what you wanted done, and then we can go into what we did.
Sure. I was talking with a couple of other Freedom Club members, and we were talking about doing webinars. And one of the Freedom Club members was doing webinars, but it was very time consuming to spend every Saturday on a webinar trying to promote his business and the products that he does. But I thought it was a good idea because he was getting a fair amount of business from it. So that was my takeaway in our little get together. And when I got back home, I looked through Ginger's presentations, and there's webinars in there. And so I immediately downloaded her webinar and created a presentation with the use of her tools. And then I called her and I said, look, I want to do a series of webinars, but I need to get this out to realtors and do it on a weekly basis, and to try to set it up so that somehow I don't have to always be in front of the camera presenting live. And she said, there's a way we can do that. And she mentioned this webinar platform. What was it called?
It's called Webinar Jam.
Webinar Jam.
Yeah.
And it creates an automated series of pre-made webinars. And I said, that's awesome. And so I immediately, again, started recording and uploaded it to her. And this is I won't say the finished product, but
a week in.
Yeah, our prototype. But I'm very pleased with it, and I've shared it with about 10 other
10 really
10 realtors.
Oh gosh.
And they all love it. And this platform allows me to co-brand with the various realtors, and I just think that it's going to be a big hit.
Yeah.
Well, let me back up a second here, George. So you're creating a webinar product. So Webinar Jam allows you to do it looks like a live webinar. It presents like a live webinar. We saw I don't know if we saw the countdown there, but it's actually recorded. So then you're able to copy that and co-brand with a realtor. So then the realtor can push that out to their customer base, and it makes them look like, so this is kind of like Scotty's Agent Mastermind on steroids. Yeah. A little bit, right? So yeah. You're now able to take this webinar product of you and all of your expertise. That's a absolutely brilliant strategy for this market. Like this market is, you got to step up your referral game. Well, and agents are struggling too, looking for help. I was just having this conversation with Josh yesterday, and what I think realtors are going to start seeing, this is important for anybody listening, is all of these refi shops and these loan officers that have never done a purchase money loan, they're in order for these companies to keep their doors open, they're pushing these refi loan officers into purchases. So what kind of pre-approval letters are you going to get out of a refi lender that's never done a purchase? So I think this is one of the most important times you can have to reach out to agents and say, hey, listen, this is coming down the pipe. You know, you're going to have a lot of inexperienced loan officers trying to dip their toe into purchase, and you don't want to trust your clients and your commissions with that. So this is brilliant. I love this.
Yeah, and originally, you know, when he called me and he's like, I want to do webinars, but I want to be able to brand it to a realtor. Can we do that? And I said, yeah. And you know, honestly, in Zoom, you can set up different URLs, and I do that to test my webinars all the time. Where I'll try, you know, one on Facebook, or one we're sending out through CRM, or one we're sending to a partner. And so you can do that. So originally I thought, okay, we'll do that. And then when he said, no, I really want to brand it with a lot of realtors, like, okay, it needs to be scalable. And so when I was doing a lot of TRID training, it's called Webinar Jam, and it's just an automated webinar platform. And I said, I think we can do the same thing. So you should be able to see my screen. So the first thing I said is, how many of these webinars do you want to do? And he says, as many as I can. It's like, okay, let's start with 2. So he recorded 2. And so he's talking about, in my Edu Marketing Toolbox, we give scripts, pre-made videos, but then also PowerPoint presentations. And this is going back to back in the day when Tim Brahim had his loan toolbox. And so we remember that. And it was, here's your tools, he had PowerPoint presentations, you know, flyers, whatever, right? Nobody's ever replaced that. And so what I have is PowerPoint templates, and it has the script in there. You can brand it. You can put your logo in it. So we have a first-time home buyer. I think you did the pre-qual, pre-approval. Yes. There's a jumbo. We've got, you know, different PowerPoint presentations in there. So he started with that. It has the script. So he just reads the script, shows the slides, just like you would do a regular webinar, and records it. And then the process is, then he sent the recording to us. We upload it onto YouTube. So Scott, this kind of goes through that whole, let's, you know, go through the steps. So record it, upload it to YouTube. And then what you do, and I'm going to show you this Webinar Jam. Can you see that?
Yeah. Okay.
So you set it up one time. So this is the first time home buyer template. And then what that does when you set it up, and you can go in and edit it. So I'll just kind of walk through this process. And, you know, you have your source video. So that's where you're going to have that from YouTube. And when you record the webinar, and George did such a good job of this, he recorded it like he was doing a webinar. So it's like, hi, welcome to the webinar. You know, we're going to be getting started shortly. So people really think that they're on a webinar, right? Then you have settings you can go, you can add your presenters in here, and I'll show you when we set up the other ones. And then you can schedule it. And so for George, he says, well, if I was doing the webinar, I would do it on Wednesday and Saturday. It's like, okay, well, let's set it up that way. We did that for a couple of reasons. First of all, and I've done thousands of webinars. In fact, I think last month alone, I probably did like 10 webinars, and I still get hundreds of people to sign up for webinars. So yes, Scott, people do sign up for webinars, and it's almost, I think maybe it's COVID or what, it seems like it's come back a lot. For some reason, people like to register for something. People like to watch something. And so we said, okay, we're just going to do it on Wednesday and Saturday. The reason why is because we set this up to where they can type in questions. Because if you're on a webinar, you would type in questions, right? And so those questions are emailed to him. So that way he knows to be available on Saturday at 2 and Wednesday at 6. So he's not inundated all the time. So you set up the schedule, and then you have the registration page. And these are the templates, Scott. So they give you different templates that you have here. And you can start from there. And so you can go in and design it. You can have as much as you want. You can put a video in there. I mean, they have all these templates here. And so you just decide, you can preview it, you can customize it, you can set all that up.
Yep.
And then you have your registration forms, you collect the information, free versus paid, all the different things. So you just go through all of this and set it up. And then once you do, then you have your finished product. And it gives you a link. Now that we have that base, now all we have to do is go and clone it. So we start with the template, and then we clone that template, and then we rename it. So now here are his realtors.
Mhm.
So we've got his realtors, and I know you sent me one yesterday, which I haven't set up yet. So we've got Daryl and Shailene and Julia, and they all get that from the same template. So he's not re-recording anything. We're not rebranding anything. Everything is duplicated. And he decided, and we could set it up every Wednesday or Saturday. We just decided we wanted to set it up to where we cut them off.
Mhm.
It says we want to be able to have them do something, right? And so now you can add them in. So it's a co-branded. And so now he has the same information, but now we have a web page that is co-branded to Daryl, and he sends Daryl that link. And now we have one that is for Shailene. And so now Shailene has, and she can send that out.
Very cool.
So you only record it once, right? Set up the template, and then you get their information and set it up, and it's all the same information, but now they're inviting people to it. So that's what we did with that. And then what you're going to do is you can see your analytics. Now we just set this up, so I don't really have anything yet as far as analytics. You can look at your registrants. So again, this is part of what we're going to get. So we've got 2 in there. So if we look, I don't think you've invited anyone.
Not really.
So,
Oh,
you can go in.
you're talking about the ribbon program. I did a webinar on the ribbon program last week.
Nice.
That's an amazing program. Have you been working with them for a while?
Yes.
Yeah. Now
Yeah,
more
they're
people
great.
need to know about that. They're
Mhm.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
They're the
are
ones that buy it cash or whatever, or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. No,
Allow
I
you
did
to
some
make
stories
cash
on that.
offers. Yeah.
And I just got to tell you guys, I'm feverishly writing notes down on this. This is like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life right now. I'm so happy we're going over this. I'm just like, because I do a podcast, Loan Officer Gizmos and Gadgets. So
Yeah.
George, expect a call from me soon.
Okay, no problem.
To do a Loan Officer Gizmos and Gadgets podcast with you on this product. This thing is fantastic. This is really cool.
Thank
The
you.
co-branding thing is just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Could
and
it be
that's
more brilliant? I
And
don't.
people are looking for reasons to call, right? Call
Yeah.
agents. And this is it. And the thing of it is you're giving them something,
Mhm.
and they're excited about that.
Yeah.
So, and you could do it on any topic, so that's why George did the ribbon program. And we actually just did a video. When I was here last month, we recorded a video with an agent who had used the ribbon program, and she was so excited to talk about it and the stories, which Scott, you talk about stories. So,
Yeah.
so this is it. So now you can go and we can look at, what they have as far as registrations. George has someone on his team who's going to actually pull these reports. So the agents don't have access to this. I mean, I suppose I wouldn't give them access. I would retain control over this. And you know what you could do? You could put it into the app though, into the Homestar app that you set up for them to add that link. Sorry, we were working on another project earlier.
Brainstorming live.
Oh yeah, it's like,
That's right.
oh,
Yeah.
This is how the sausage is
the
made.
light. Did
Folks.
you see the light bulb go on? It's like ding, 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 ding. So anyway, so once
sausage
a
is
week,
made.
they're going to go in, they're going to download the report, and they're going to call the agent and say, hey, Daryl, I just wanted to let you know, we've got, so many people that have registered this week for the webinar, what can I help you with as far as marketing it out? Can we do a video together? So it just kind of creates that connection for marketing.
But speaking about, the Freedom Club, I thought that this was a great idea for my Thor's hammer.
Oh,
But
man.
when I speak with my
Yeah.
realtors Monday morning, well, I'm bringing them a gift. Would you like to co-brand a webinar with me? And I have not gotten anyone to say no.
I know. I'd be like, what now?
Yeah,
What is
exactly.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
I
don't have
got-
to do anything.
Yeah.
Hey, George, I got one for you. This is something that I think would be cool, and I just don't see that it's being done.
Mhm.
So there's first-time home buyer webinars, like one of the most common things we ever hear of. But gosh darn, what about a first-time home seller webinar? You know, like there's so many and they need inventory so bad right now. We need inventory. We need sellers so bad. You know how many
I
people
love
bought
that.
homes and have never sold one? And it's scary to a person to sell a home for the first time, just
Yeah.
as scary as it is to buy the home for the first time, you know? So being able to really get out there with, hey man, if you've never sold, you're thinking about it because the crazy, insane market, learn about it, understand what you can do, what you can't do, what the legalities are, you know, what the cost is, how it all works. Attend our first time home sellers webinar. You know, if we could
That
put
would
something
be
like that together with referral partners. So let me tell you something, because let me tell you, people selling their homes, you think they
Yeah.
need a loan?
Mhm.
They're probably moving. Right? If they're selling their home, they're leaving. Where are you going? We're going to buy another house. You going to pay cash? No. Well, then you get a client out of that too. You know,
I
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah. Let's get together and develop that.
let's work on that. Let's cooperate on that, because I would like to put that together. I really want to have a neat, comprehensive.
We need to know what are those points? So let's do a call on what are those points.
Yeah. Let's
And
go through
then
that.
We can create the
So-
slide deck and the handout and everything.
Let me tell you, that would be fantastic. And I tell you, you're all the referral partners out there would be like gobbling that thing up, like
Mhm.
share it on Facebook, email blast it, Facebook promos, whatever, I mean that. And the cool thing is it's a webinar. Hey, I got a question for you guys. So if it's being played as if it was live, right? And people can ask questions. Ginger, you said that emails to you?
Mhm. So he
Yep.
gets an email to his inbox when you set it up.
But it's like, so it's not an instant, like it doesn't text you like, hey, here's a question, you can text right back and answer it kind of a thing.
So you can set up the automated webinar to where it's like that, but you have to log in to see those questions. I like setting it up that he gets an email. And he just did the recording on the webinar saying, hey, I'll be taking questions today, but I have a lot of information I'm going to cover. So type in your question.
And then I'll get back to you.
A response.
I like
So
that. I like that a lot better.
What I would do, so what I did when I did this, but I was doing them live, but it would work similar, is just say, I have somebody from my team monitoring the live chat. And then you just make sure somebody from your team is logged in on that Wednesday and that Saturday. So this is your Saturday and they're monitoring the live chat. And especially if you have a team, and then that's their opportunity. That's their opportunity to engage and potentially get business out of it. And that you don't have to. Here's another thing that I wanted to mention on this is anytime you're doing something like this, you should be taking, not only anybody who clicks on, well, it depends on how they promote this, but at the very least, I would create a custom audience in Facebook out of the registrants. So anybody that registers for this webinar, whether they show up or not, turn that into create a custom audience. You can do that with Zapier. And then I would follow them around with that co-branded agents information or your website. It's super, super low cost because there's not going to be a lot of people on there. But take advantage of that other opportunity to just remind them, hey, you attended our webinar. And then all of a sudden they're seeing Homestar everywhere while they're on Facebook. And you're going to just keep driving because, best case scenario, you're going to get 20 to 25% of people that register will attend the webinar live. It's not huge numbers. It could be higher than that, but where we really benefited from when we did webinars is marketing to the people that didn't make it. Because they didn't make it because it wasn't important. They didn't make it because it wasn't convenient.
Right. I love that. And that would be really good for us to do that in an upcoming session, Scott, to unpack that and see what that looks like.
And while we're brainstorming,
Yes.
another cool idea is first time home buyer slash and or first time home seller webinars. This is where if you've got huge employers in your area, maybe going to the HR department, I'm with XYZ lender. We kind of really specialize in helping people with this type of a thing. We have an ongoing webinar series. If you can get it out to your employees, if you think that might be useful to your employees, strike some sort of a deal, something like that. Because if something like that comes from their employer, they're a lot more inclined to kind of plug into that and see what's going on. If you have some, like out here, we got Kaiser, we got Genentech, we got some big players out here. And don't forget the smaller to medium sized employers as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If you can get HR to email out the link to the webinar
or
include it in the month of employee newsletter or something.
Yeah, man. I mean, and this goes down to
it's one a month. You could say, hey, I'll do a webinar a month. You can brand it just to them. You could do VA 1 month. You could do FHA, because you can set it up when you set this whole thing up on what you want to do.
Right.
Well,
right.
and that employer strategy, that's a retention strategy for the employer. Because if their employees can buy a home closer to where they work, there's going to be more stability there, and they're going to have more longevity with their employees. So that's super smart.
And then depending on the employer, there might be transferring people around and stuff. Now this helps them sell their home as well. Like I have never, I've never sold a home before. Hey, if you happen to be transferring, whatever, I don't know, just another program. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing we did, so we did create a site for him to put all of these onto, which is Mortgage Educator, MTG Educator. So we set up a landing page for that. If I could only type. See, I can't.
Educator.
It keeps wanting to put a G in here. It's not me. Okay. So we have his landing page that we set up. Let's see if it's going to work. That is, so this is, we just set this up just as a splash page. He got a URL and then we forward it to the splash page. This goes into the CRM. So it goes into Keep, and then we can do follow-up from it. And so, this is ability to do that. But then what we did, let me see if I didn't do it right. Do you remember what that one was?
Which one?
Was it Daryl?
Oh, it's Cator, CATOR. You have CTOR.
Oh,
yeah.
So go back to the URL that you had. CATOR. There you go.
So then what we did so the URL that he got, I did a subdomain that's back to it. So all Daryl needs to remember is daryl.mtgeducator.com, and that's his. And so each one of these, we just set up a subdomain. So like Anthony, I have a hard time with this. Sorry, Anthony. Anthony.mtgeducator.com. So if they're out and they, meet somebody, so like Frank, you could do that if you're out and you're meeting somebody, say, hey, you know what? I just did a webinar.
Is that URL unique to that landing page?
Yes.
Okay, I would use masking when you do the 301 redirect. Use masking.
Yeah.
Just so that the URL doesn't change when it forwards. It's just the little
I
nuances.
tried doing that. I may have to
trust.
look at that because I tried doing that and it had a problem picking it up with some firewalls.
I've noticed that before too. Like when you do the masking, sometimes it jacks it up.
Yeah, that's the only reason I didn't is because
I only do it if it's a single landing page. If there's navigation, I don't like keeping the masked one, but if it's just going to a single page, it's just that congruency.
Yeah, I'll try it and play around with that. But when I did it initially, I was having a hard time getting it through firewalls.
Okay.
And so I took it off.
Okay.
For those of you who
Those
don't
dang
understand, we're saying when
firewalls.
you set up a subdomain, you can make it to where it masks, so it becomes sticky to that daryl.mtgeducator.com. Whereas now what you're seeing on here, it takes to the landing page that's in Webinar Jam. And I
Holy
agree,
cow.
when I have just one page, I like to do that too, but it did make it a little wonky, so I gotta play around with it.
So Ginger, I hate to pull the fire alarm here, but George has a webinar in 3 minutes and
I
47
know.
seconds.
We got to get hustling.
What's gonna happen? But so that gives us full circle, right? Because this
Right.
webinar is gonna roll while George is sitting here making sausage with us on the Mortgage Video Mastermind,
Enjoying my freedom.
Yeah.
enjoying your freedom.
I mean,
Amen,
and,
brother.
and Daryl doesn't even know, but Daryl's sending it out, and Daryl looks like the man, right? He's like, "Hey, I just did a webinar with George," and George is doing one there, and George is doing one here, and George is.
I'm all over the place.
Brain exploding. I'm into
with
this.
Trid.
This is really huge.
I did this
This
with
is huge.
Trid, and I was doing it in California, Frank, because we did a lot of stuff there with camp. And I was doing it with Teresa Ballard, and they had sent it out, camp was sending it out, promoting, hey, we've got all these webinars going on about your real estate agents, blah, blah, blah. And Teresa calls, she's like, what the heck are you doing? I can't do all these webinars. I can't do all these dates. I'm like, don't worry about it. Remember the webinar
Take it easy.
last week? I recorded it and I put it into a platform that just looks like we're doing all these webinars. She's like, oh, thank God. She was freaking out because she'd gotten the marketing piece, right? And that's the thing you can do. I mean, honestly, I think there's so much you can do. I love first-time sellers. I think that's brilliant,
I think
Frank.
that's brilliant.
Yep. And the whole.
We got to do that. I
The-
experimented with that once real briefly. This is a few years ago. So I thought, man, nobody does this. Why don't we do this? And so I actually put together some kind of a hokey thing. It'd be a lot better to work with you on it, Ginger, so we can scale this out, right? Some hokey thing. And I did very little effort on trying to get it going. And I got like 15 or 20 registrants. I was like, oh man, this is exciting. I went over there, it was all realtors. It's all realtors that I knew. They're like, really? First time home seller webinar? I want to see this.
Oh.
But you know what?
That's awesome.
But I tell you what, and operating from a lender capacity, you know what I mean? That's still pretty cool, because if they attend that and they see it like this, they may be reaching out to you saying, hey man, how do I get to be one of those co-hosts on that webinar
Exactly.
thing you got going, right?
Yep.
So-
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, there's things and maybe you do, an interview that, you interview an underwriter, or you interview an insurance agent, or you interview, and that's part of what you do. So, and when you think about everything we're building for YouTube is to be able to educate, right? Attract, tell those stories, whatever. If you combine that, the webinar is just longer than the videos typically that you're doing on YouTube.
And you can ask questions. Yeah.
You can ask questions. So even though it's not technically live, they think it's interactive. And people, I mean, I am continually amazed. I mean, I have honestly, during COVID, I've done webinars where I've maxed out the 1,000 registrations at Zoom. People are registering.
Yeah.
So the nice thing with this is it gives you some more options. I would limit it. I wouldn't make it available all the time. I would definitely do what we did with George's and just, one day a week in the evening. And you don't have to do the replay. So if you don't want to do the replay, you want to, but they're still going to register even if they watch the replay. The reason I love this is because in YouTube, you don't know who's watching it. With this, you're capturing their information.
Yeah.
It believes.
Yeah, this just also feels like a really, really powerful way to use StreamYard, because I like StreamYard slide share
Yeah.
functionality. Just the design of it looks really clean and neat, and it's very convenient. So you can take your time and you can record that webinar and do a really nice job with slides and your screen share and all of that. Get a copy of it that you like and and just put it up there, and then that thing just plays on automatic every time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Yeah,
whole
I
thing.
love this, man. You got my webinar juices flowing again. I'm gonna have to dust off some of those webinar skills.
Great
I used to-
idea.
Yeah.
You know, it's really good.
It
I'm
is.
enthralled with it. I'm super excited about
I
it.
think it's a powerful tool for today's market, especially when there's chaos. You know, when the market is shifting and there's chaos, and
Yeah,
people are hungry for education and direction.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
taking
And the
that leadership role.
PowerPoint too, you can think about, is that downloaded here? Did we download it?
Which one?
Oh, here it is. The first time home buyer.
Yeah, I mean, and what I like about, I like everything about Ginger's program, but the different topics. One week we could talk about, you don't need 20% down. What are closing costs? These are all things that not only first-time home buyers are interested in, but just buyers are interested in. And then you
Yeah.
couple that with the first-time home sellers
Yeah.
seminars, you've got something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know we're about ready to wrap up, but
Yeah.
George, are you just doing the slideshow and you're narrating the slideshow, or are
Yeah.
you also on camera with this? Okay, so you're just doing the slideshow and you're narrating it. So you're not even on camera.
No.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's
no,
super
that's good.
cool.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was trying to keep in line with our Freedom Club motto and how to duplicate myself.
Duplicate yourself, scale. Perfect. Wonderful.
and
Great
spend time
stuff.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that you can still record it once
Yeah.
and be on camera and have the slide share on the camera, or
Yeah.
you just show.
Yeah, you can
So
do
your
both.
face isn't showing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can play
Brilliant,
around with
brilliant.
it and see what works, you know? So, yeah, perfect. Okay, well, we're at the top of the hour. That was our tidbit.
Yeah.
George drove me, we're in Alpharetta, so we're driving out here. I said, hey, I've got a call to do at 1:30. Let's talk about the webinar thing we set up. He's like, okay, that's a great idea. So
I'm
we'll
gonna
have
need a hand
numbers.
truck for that golden nugget right there.
That's the plan.
And sometimes, you just dust off stuff in the shelf, right? Change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we're going to go back to this, because that's the market we're in right now.
It
I
really
mean, you
is.
got to get back to your realtors, right? You got to give them something of value. You can't call them and say, hey, you got anything today? So this does
And innovators win in chaotic markets. Bottom
absolutely.
line.
Yeah. Yep. Move fast, change. Move fast, change. Move fast.
I love
change.
it. Great
Yeah.
job, George.
Yeah, thank you.
Good
Really
stuff,
good
man.
job.
I'm going to be
Thank you
calling
for
you,
all
George,
that.
just so you know, George. You and me, we're doing a podcast. You and me.
Let's do it.
All
right, brother.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, guys, thanks. Peace out. And we'll
We'll
see
see
you
ya.
next week.
Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
See y'all.